I'm going to give the people what they want. Sensation, horror, shock. Send them out in the streets to tell their friends how wonderful it is to be scared to death.
You're listening to Dead Zone, where a panel of paranormal experts and one total beginner gather to discuss all things paranormal. You can find Dead Zone on Facebook at facebook.com/DeadZoneX97. All right, welcome to this week's special edition of Dead Zone. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, we've got a special guest on the line right now. We've got a stellar show lined up for you, but on the line we've also got Robbie Thomas with us.
This guy's awesome.
Yes.
He's been on before. You guys know that. Yeah.
Yep. So welcome, Robbie Thomas.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, well, we're glad to have you on the show. Now, I did get a chance to read an excerpt of your book. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, let's dive into that.
Okay.
Let's go right into it, right? And the book is called?
Okay. It's my memoirs of nearly 30 years of working with law enforcement and families, different agencies on the front lines on death scenes and being called out internationally from Canada to United States to Mexico, you name it, Europe. I've been there. I've done it. All backed by law enforcement, endorsed. Their words are in the book. Their reports are in the book. There are actually photographs and details where a psychic profiler uses the ability to assist the law enforcement out there when they're stuck. Now, what's different about this than people who say they work with law enforcement is that there are the actual footnotes of emails and certain different antidotes that are in that book that will keep everybody on edge saying, wow, I can't believe that's how it starts. They contact them through this, and then they go, further into a case with phone calls and then him flying out to places or meeting the family, meeting the officers and going from there.
Well, what intrigued me most, first of all, I would like to say to everybody listening out there, Mr. Thomas is a psychic profiler. He aids in police investigations. And what intrigued me...
And he's from Canada.
Yes. Yes, he's a neighbor from up north. What intrigued me, reading the first bit of the excerpt, talking about when you first knew that you had a gift.
Right.
That was awesome.
I found very intriguing.
That's like my favorite part of the book. That was awesome.
So, yeah, it it goes into my whole life, and there's a lot more I'm going to put into the book. You guys got a little taste.
Right.
We did.
But it has to take from the beginning. What is Robbie Thomas, or who is Robbie Thomas? Where did it come from? How did he establish himself and move forward? And when you look at the foundation of who I really truly am, from where I began as a child, all the way through adolescence, all the way through young adulthood to becoming a man, and now to even today, there's a lot of steps that were taken. It just wasn't overnight. And I want to get this clear with a lot of people out there. I'm not nitpicking on a lot of people, but we see people jump aboard and go, I'm a psychic medium now. I just come out 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%.
It doesn't, like 3 million.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, what drives me to bring this book out is there are people on social media who are hell-bent on forming these groups that call up family and say, I'm going to help you. And they get the family all hooked into this genre of, I can help you notation, and they get hurt.
Right.
And
now, what's going to be in that book, Lee and Rachel? You guys are going to love this.
Okay.
I got over the years dozens of cases, but I'm going to put 5 to 6 in there that will show and illustrate how a psychic said this, yet when I came into the picture, working with the law enforcement, it totally changed the whole concept, and that person was totally wrong for a year period or 2 years. On one case since 1996,
right?
And I put a lady on stage in 2010, and I found her husband when the one psychic who was known, said he was dead in Mexico behind a jail along a fence line.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I turned and found him in British Columbia, alive.
There you go.
But he just wanted to be left alone, right?
Yeah, just leave me alone.
Yeah, leave me alone.
Right.
I want to be left alone.
Right.
So, in talking about one of the other cases that was mentioned, the Cesar Aguilar case.
Oh,
Yeah.
That one.
That's horrible.
That was a horrific case, but
terrible.
it amazed me how spot on your details were.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I was like, "Wow, okay, all
But
you
let's-
have to go on."
Let's not go into details on that. This is a Christmas show. You know.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
true, it is Christmas. So, but it did amaze me, with the details that you were given, how you were able to help that family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. It when asked, it becomes a different venue for me. It's like when just a few weeks ago, I was in Virginia, and this lady said, here's a Christmas miracle for everybody who's tuning in listening to this. This will make you feel really warm inside and feel really good about life and about Christmas, about living and giving to people.
Right.
I was in Virginia filming Coexistence, my other TV series with Keith Age. Now,
awesome too, by the
in
way.
case you said about Cano, Keith was involved in that in 2007 on the phone with me, going back and forth with the police on that case. But here we are, full circle, 3 weeks ago. I get a text message from a lady who says, my husband's in a coma. He's brain dead. They're going to unplug him and take him off life support. Can you help me? And I said, I just got to Virginia. Can you give me time to come home? She goes, 48 hours. I have 48 hours. So here I am. I said, I'm going to come when I'm done filming, come back home and I'll meet you. Well, in the interim, the news for her wasn't very good. She was very distraught and down. You're going to lose your husband. I mean, that's your life. Come full circle. Here we are. Monday morning, I'm driving home from Virginia, 12 hours. I get back Tuesday. I didn't have much sleep whatsoever. I'm pulling up to the hospital, staring at this monumental building, and I'm praying to God inside me, and I'm thinking, why am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I here? I'm just nothing in me. I just don't understand. So I make my way into the hospital. I get up to the ICU, and I meet Julie. And Julie Kiff is her name. Her story actually is on breaking news on my website, robbiethomas.net, first page. Everybody can read that. It's making news everywhere. And
Will do.
I hug her. She takes me into the ICU, and I meet Bill, her husband. And I've never seen in my life anybody who was plugged into so many machines with tubes coming out of every part of his body, from the side of his ribs to everywhere. He had 3 IVs in him, tubes everywhere. I'd never seen this before.
Wow.
And he was in a coma for 15 days. So what I did immediately, I took my hat off, I started praying, and I said, Jesus, you got to help me. I don't know what to do. You got to help me, and you got to let Bill communicate, talk to me. And I started hearing things. I started to hear toxic, neurological, wrong medicine, time to heal. I'm in pain.
I believe that.
So I turned to Julie, and first words that comes to her after I'm done praying, she says, "Oh my God, it's not good." And I said, No, it's okay. And I started to explain to her everything I told her. In that 20 minutes I stayed with her, and Bill's mom came in. I left. Julie decides, when the neurologist came in, well-educated, scientific individuals come in the room. The ICU knew I was there. Julie starts explaining that what is toxic neurological and neurological toxicity. And then the doctor starts to explain. He checks the chart. He goes, "Oh my God, take the IVs out. We're giving the wrong medicine." So they take the IVs
Imagine
out.
that, right?
And I just spoke to Julie prior to this show, by the way. She's going to tune into this later on.
Very cool.
And
Awesome. Yeah.
Bill is sitting up. He's alive. He can see and can communicate with his hands.
That's
but he can't
fantastic,
talk.
man. That is
Can't
fantastic.
walk.
Yeah.
But he's alive. It's going to take a long time to heal, but he's not dead, unplugged, in a coma, and put in a box in the ground like the doctors wanted to do.
That's awesome.
Went in there,
Wow.
and God did this. So there you go. Merry Christmas, everybody. That's the greatest story ever told.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great
That's
story.
what it's going to be called.
Holiday miracle, man.
Well, actually, I do want to kind of switch topics on you here to something that's not quite paranormal related, but since it is Christmas, I'd like to ask you what's one Canadian tradition that most people would not know about?
Oh, hey, you know what? Before you answer,
Yeah,
I know one thing that is Canadian tradition. I saw it on his Facebook page.
Oh.
They did an homage to the Dead Zone in his front yard for Halloween.
Yes, they did.
Yes,
That's
sure did.
freaking cool. But what do you guys do? What's one thing you guys like to do up there that most people probably would not know about?
Oh, my goodness. We get up early in the morning like everybody, and one tradition I like to do in the morning is get everybody active in the kitchen and either cutting the bread for the dressing, helping chopping the vegetables, doing something, the family thing, just like everybody does.
Totally skipped over.
I don't think it's any different than in America, really.
You totally skipped over opening the presents.
Oh yeah, we do that. We actually open up the presents. Yes, we do.
No, they stay under the tree until next year.
Until dinner or lunch or
Yeah, we take them back and get our money back.
Sorry. Walmart.
Oh my gosh.
Walmart.
But yeah, so do you have actually a favorite Christmas song that you'd like to hear?
Yeah, Walking in a Winter Wonderland.
All right, man. You know what? I'm going to see if I can find some of that for you as we go to a quick break. And then we'll be back with some music right here on X97 WEVX. This is Dead Zone with special guest Robbie Thomas. We'll hear more from the Dead Zone crew right after this on X97 WEVX. Everything that rocks.
Hey, this is Dwayne from the Dwayne on the Radio Show, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about WEVX's first annual crowdfunding campaign. We'll be accepting donations via www.gofundme.com/X97WEVX. If you've been looking for a way to help us keep rocking, this is a great opportunity to get involved. X97 WEVX is a non-profit community-oriented station, so all donations go directly to our day-to-day operations, equipment maintenance, purchase of new equipment, and community outreach. For more information, you can check out our campaign online at www.gofundme.com/X97WEVX, or you may contact X97 WEVX by phone at 812-233-4067.
That looks perfect. Now I just need that rare collectible action figure and my collection is complete.
Epic, but it's missing something. Have you checked out Sewer Layer Toys? They buy, sell, and trade all kinds of vintage, new, and custom toys, which is what you need, right?
Give me their address and phone number.
Sewer Layer Toys, 3197 South 3rd Place in Terre Haute. You can call 812-917-4449. Hey, where you going?
To Sewer Layer Toys. I want that rare collectible action figure.
If it's too loud, then you're too old. Sorry, Graham. Go ahead, piss yourself. We don't care. It's a f***ing rock station. X97 WEVX. Everything that rocks.
You're listening to Dead Zone on X97 WEVX. You can hit us up on social media via Facebook.com/DeadZoneX97 or via the web at www.deadzoneradio.com. And we're back on X97 WEVX, Dead Zone. This is our special Christmas edition. I'm your moderator. Yeah, Christmas. No, I'm your moderator, Rachel, and I swear I have not been hitting up the eggnog.
Yet.
But I've got Lee Poi sideboard, and we've got special guest psychic profiler Robbie Thomas on the line as well. So, Lee, I believe you had some questions.
Yeah,
to
I do have
ask.
a question. One of the chapters, the first chapter in your book about your childhood was had something to do with what we talk about here on the show quite a bit: shadow people.
Right.
You say. You had an experience with this person. It was like it was planned.
Yeah, on his part.
On his part.
On his part. Now, people understand what catalyst is or an attraction. This individual
was attracted to you.
Yeah, he was attracted to me because I was able to see as a child, so I was the catalyst.
That's awesome, dude.
And then, and being age 12, 13. Into my early adolescence, my father bought this home. I was going to go to this prominent Catholic school, high school. So we moved from one end of town to this end of the town. The home had a fire and the man died in the house.
Right.
So we remodeled the home all summer long, all spring and summer. And this was an August night now. And I remember the full moon outside lit up my bedroom like it was just daytime. It was beautiful. So I go to bed, I shut the light off, climb into bed, I pull the covers, and I look, and there he is. He's standing right there.
There he is.
And then he starts to walk towards me.
Right.
And I can make out his brim hat, the overalls he had, and where his hands were placed. And then I screamed. And then pulled the covers over my head. My mother come running in. She turned the light on, and he was gone. Now, it wasn't the first time I had this encounter with this individual. So as time went on, I got to get to know him on a more subtle way, and then you started to come in almost like in color blur. And when I say color blur, it wasn't full apparition. It was color blur shadow person.
Right.
And it wasn't to frighten me. It was more or less to get acquainted with me.
Right.
And then when I started to understand what he wanted, he was explaining the three gentlemen across the road adjacent from my father's house with Mr. Leach, Mr. Waters, and Bill. I forget his last name. And what happened was he explained Mr. Leach is going to pass away. They were all good friends, by the way. All the three gentlemen across the road and the man in the house. He was giving me a warning that Mr. Leach was going to get sick and pass away. Mr. Waters was going to get sick, sick and pass away. And then Bill was going to die in a different way. So what happened? Mr. Leach was a stout man. And I remember sitting on the front porch with my dad, and Mr. Leach was like almost overnight. He'd come over and he was holding his pants. He was thin as a rail. He had cancer. And he didn't last very long, and he passed away.
Right.
And so that was, number one. And I'm thinking, okay, Mr. Waters. Well, Mr. Waters had a heart attack, and then he passed away. And then Bill died in a hunting accident.
Oh,
so all three died. They were all good friends. They all died that year. And it was amazing to see the validation come through. This individual was trying to warn me about the three gentlemen across the road. That I used to go cut his lawn. I used to go help take out his garbage and stuff like that. I got to know these gentlemen.
Why do you think he was trying to warn you about this? I mean, were you supposed to communicate this with these other three men, or what? I mean, it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it is weird because when I look at it, it wasn't me that became friends with my neighbors. It was my mom and dad.
Right.
And I'm a 12, 13-year-old child.
Right.
So, but I went out and did Mr. Leach's lawn. I did Mr. Waters. I took out his garbage. And, Mr. Bill, he had dogs. And so I love the dogs. I guess it was just the affiliation of free. And then the warning came through that way. It wasn't a rash moment. It wasn't anything that made me jaded. It was something that just helped me to understand where I'd be in communicating with somebody who was either, like we call them, shadow people, but they're really people on the other side.
Now, why do you think it is that most people, we're going to go, here we go, we do what we always do, we're going to go completely off track here. Why is it that anytime you ever hear anything about a shadow person, they always have a fedora? What's the deal with that? Some kind of brimmed hat?
No, yeah, I know it isn't a fedora. It was more like, those farmer kind of hats?
Right.
They're, how can I say it? It's not like completely round cowboy, but it's like the sides are up, and you can see the brim, and it was like almost like a fedora, but it's not. You know what I'm talking?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why is it anytime you hear anyone talk about a shadow person, they seem to, at least most of the ones I've heard, they always have a hat?
Well, you know what? That guy gets around.
Yeah, he gets around, yeah.
He gets around.
Yeah,
so, I
same guy.
don't know why other people talk about that. And, there's also the other tarnished way of talking about shadow people, where people think they're evil. They're the total opposite of what's going on.
Right.
A lot of people in the paranormal, as children, we all know. I'm in the paranormal, psychic, whatever you want to call me.
Right.
A long time ago, and when we were as children, doing investigations, my first one was 1978. So I go a long way back.
Right.
It's recorded. There's a photograph in the museum where I took Keith Age and Patrick Burns and a lot of the guys on TV there to show them where I first went. So, I date back that far doing investigations.
Right.
When people talk about the shadow people and they address them as evil and what have you, and black, we equate of a child who sees in color, and all of a sudden we're becoming older and jaded and cynical and very, I got to prove this, I got to prove that, and you're wrong and I'm right and all. That's where the whole mistake in this paranormal realm goes. People got to learn to be more open and understanding of everybody, rather than just say, I'm right, you're wrong, and what have you, and I don't think this is it, and what you're getting is wrong, but my stuff is right.
Right.
There's a big quandary about that.
Yeah.
When we look at shadow people, we have to understand there are people on the other side. If you're not willing and acceptant of wanting to become that transition or that catalyst to talk or to communicate, because there's fear. A lot of people say to me, how come when my mom and dad pass, my sister gets a visit, but I don't? And I say,
the
reason why your sister got a visit
you're not open.
is because she's willing and ready, where you really want more, but your need is different than what you actually, they know what you need. So it's not like you're not ready, it's that you're overwhelming, and it's going to crush you. If somebody comes through, and I've seen it too, I'll tell you something, Lee and Rachel, I've seen it where people say, my dad came through, sat on the end of the bed, and I've been terrified now for the rest of my life because that happened.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, it just shows that, you weren't ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I understand that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I do not want to cut it short, but I do want to get some music going. So we are going to take a quick music break, and we'll be right back after this on X97 WEVX Dead Zone. We'll hear more from the Dead Zone crew right after this on X97 WEVX. Everything that rocks. You're listening to Dead Zone on X97 WEVX. You can hit us up on social media via facebook.com/DeadZoneX97 or via the web at www.deadzoneradio.com. All right, well, I do have to say thank you very much, Robbie Thomas.
Oh yeah, man.
For coming on the show and sharing your story, your wonderful, amazing, entertaining stories. I have had a great.
Are we done already?
So he's got a new book coming out very soon, and
we do have a
The
link.
Real Deal.
We do have a link to that on the Facebook page too, so if people can go check that out, if you want to get a copy of that, man, it's right there.
All right.
Just click the
So
link.
thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, Robbie Thomas, Psychic Profiler. We'll be right back with a little bit more of Dead Zone after this on X97 WEVX.
Christmas edition.
We'll hear more from the Dead Zone crew right after this on X97 WEVX. Everything that rocks.
X97 WEVX. Everything that rocks.
You're listening to Dead Zone on X97 WEVX. You can hit us up on social media via facebook.com/DeadZoneX97 or via the web at www.deadzoneradio.com. And we're back on X97 WEVX Dead Zone
Christmas show.
edition.
Merry Christmas.
I've got Matt Greenwell sideboard as
Yeah,
well as
from
Lee
PSI.
Poi
From
from
RIP.
Rural Indiana Paranormal.
Right.
I'm Rachel.
Rachel?
Rachel?
Rachel.
No, Rachel, you're Dead Zone moderator. And on the line now, we've got a second special guest, Bloody Mary.
Mary, awesome.
She gives tours in New Orleans and has recently opened a supernatural history museum. Welcome to the show,
That
Bloody
is
Mary.
awesome.
Yes, welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I have a haunted museum I opened in September. The haunted museum in the Murder House on Rampart
The
Street.
Murder House.
A very old building and a lot of activity.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about your museum.
Sure. Well, I'm in a 200-year-old Creole cottage complex with kind of like 11 rooms to wander, but all sorts of areas that are open and active. It is in the courtyard. We have a servant's quarters and a carriage house and a boys' quarters and a chicken coop, and then the main house that I'm in upstairs and down with supernatural displays, a psychic suite for classes and readings, and we do seance, and we do ghost hunts,
For classes, you say.
and we do
So
regular tours.
you offer classes
So we do
too.
it all.
You offer classes too, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, we definitely do. Right now, we have some that are mixed in. We do a combination of hands-on, not just a regular tour, but a part class, part outing. And then I have some specialty parties with different things going on. And, classes on how to connect.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Or disconnect,
Or disconnect, yeah.
whatever you need to do.
Right.
Sounds
And-
like a really interesting place.
That is awesome. I mean,
And you said you had voodoo displays as well?
Oh, well, I'm a voodoo priestess, and I do what I call voodoo paranormal, which
cool.
really means a mixture of old school techniques to contact the spirits as well as new school. So
Wow.
some equipment, some psychic investigation, some shamanic ways, like a little bit of drumming and feeding the spirits, and old school calling. So yes, there are voodoo altars all throughout. There are altars to the spirit of place, to Marie Laveau, but there's portraits and pictures of our dead and famous, the who's who, so to speak,
all right.
of the spirit world, as well as my ghost photo gallery, a Victorian seance area, and the haunted objects area with observation rooms and all that jazz. But we also have I have the psychic suite on one side, and I have the murder paranormal suite on the other.
Suite.
So I
The
got
murder. What's the
and a beautiful store.
what's the murder paranormal suite?
Yeah, I want to know more about the Murder Paranormal Suite.
What's that?
Well, there's a very famous story in town. I'd say I have a mixture of old ghosts and new ghosts. It's 200 years of life and death in the building that I'm in. And there's one known as the Murder House on Rampart. I did several shows recently, actually. One on Paranormal Lockdown and one on BuzzFeed Unsolved, and a couple other smaller shows. It's also been on Haunted History, a national best-selling book about the situation. I'm kind of the expert on the spirit side.
No.
But the book was called Shake the Devil Off.
Now,
So you know the Zach and Addie story?
I was going to say, was that the house that the Sultan evidently?
Yes. No.
Okay, not that one.
Please
Okay.
tell
That's
the
an
story.
ancient old story. This is an 11-year-old story.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
This is a brand new murder-suicide, chop 'em up kind of
Oh, yeah, the guy that.
arena story.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, okay, I got you now. Okay, that's kind of gruesome.
So there was a
Yeah.
very sad murder-suicide. There was the dark side of New Orleans ran rampant for the year or two after Katrina, and most of our good ghosts were gone. Without checks and balances, a lot of people were being jumped in, walked in, and anger was at its height.
Right.
This young couple were prime targets. They drank a lot. They did drugs. You know, they were party and service industry people.
Right.
He was a musician, right?
I guess the anger, a little bit of a musician. He was really a bartender.
Right.
And, you know,
Right.
but yeah, his passion, I think, was music. Her passion was dancing and poetry, but she was also a bartender.
Right.
You know, that's how they made their money.
Right.
And, he was also 2 tours in Iraq and PTSD, and she had PTSD from childhood abuse, and
Right.
everybody had PTSD after Katrina, so that was a recipe for
That's
disaster.
not funny, but yeah, okay, yeah, I get you.
So-
I understand. Yeah.
Murder, suicide, and lots of the imprint left behind. So working with them, their spirits has been challenging
Right.
and interesting. You know, they've evolved, well, at least she has evolved a lot in the last year. He's still kind of guilt-ridden about killing her.
I would imagine so. Yeah. That was that really was a horrific story, man. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean,
You kind of find a way where
Yeah,
history
the short
repeats
story
itself,
is
too.
basically he strangled her and then he chopped her up and cooked her in the oven for 13 days, and half of them was the oven, and half was in the fridge, and the rest was done in the bathtub. And
and
I
then
have all those original items.
yeah,
the
and then he
fridge, the oven, and the bathtub.
then he jumps off the roof with a note in his pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And so are the spirits of the deceased, both victims, still haunting? What? How have they made themselves known?
And
All kinds of ways, but more in-depth ways than most haunting. Maybe because it's so new. Maybe because she really is desperate to get her story told.
Right.
But everybody that comes in there, I would say, okay, let's say 70% of the people that come in there, because some people never see or feel anything, you know, they kind of, it's like an empath communication. They
Okay.
feel things in their bodies. They feel things. They see things through her eyes. She may jump in for a little bit, and the girls will start to cry. Now, these are people, mind you, I've had the luck of the past year of doing this, of people not knowing the story. So I'm not front-loading them with information on what they should feel or trying to
Right.
scare them. I let them experience it on their own. It's just about the point now that I can't do that much anymore because the word is out of where I am, you know? But, so these people weren't told what to say, and they all say very similar things. So she'll speak through them, she'll cry through them, she'll want her story told, they'll give accurate information, they will feel tinglings, they will feel grabbed and touched and strangled and start choking. And, you know, I pull these things off people very easily, but many people become trance mediums, and I warn them all beforehand. Now, he only comes out less often, and he's less human, let's say. He's just a very much shell of guilt kind of embedded in there that reaches out for more base reasons. But, you know, people will feel aches in their shoulders and anger welling up and see a tall shadow, and he was a 6'7" man.
He was a big guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a tall man.
Right.
And little things get thrown at us afterwards, but they're not the only spirits there. There are children's spirits there and spirits there that have lived there on and off for 200 years. So there's many things going on at the same time. But he'll reach out, he'll grab you. So people get touched. People hear words, hear whispers. They feel and see what actually went on there and can describe it even when they don't know the story. And they may be describing it in a different way than I would describe it, but I could give you a good example if you have time. I don't know.
Yes,
Let's go,
absolutely.
Lay it on
So
us.
I had one woman, she was trying to connect, and she was sitting there. She's like, oh, I don't know. She goes, I feel anger and fighting, and all of a sudden, snap.
Oh.
It stopped.
Oh.
And then confusion, and I don't know, but all I know is that it's so strange. The bottom half of my body is boiling hot, and the top of me is freezing, and my head is tingling, and my
man.
neck is all achy.
Wow.
And I was like, you know,
We got to bleep that one, Mary.
huh?
We have to bleep that one.
We'll have to bleep that one word, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm
Please keep
sorry. I
going.
thought you were
It's all good.
Otherwise known as
Put
the
all
Lee
over?
button.
It's all good. I love hearing this story.
That
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, it is awesome.
If you haven't heard much from me, it's because I am absolutely lost in your story right now.
Well,
Seriously.
I mean, she was, half of her torso for 2 weeks was in the refrigerator. The other half
You're
had
right.
a head boiling in one pot, hands
my
and feet
God.
in another,
Right.
legs and arms broiling inside, chopped
Wow.
bell peppers and onions on top. You had what I call a blood print. So
Right.
this blood print, being that it's so fresh, let's see, I was in there and I got the location at the 10-year anniversary, rather accidentally, by the way. It was a 10-year anniversary. Anniversaries are great times for the residual energy to open like a doorway even faster than any other time. So it was like the whole incident was happening again, coupled with the fact that there was a fire a year before and it was under major construction at that moment. You had two of the most known reasons for spirit activity to be at its height, renovation and anniversaries. So it was really a challenge last year, and I've been working
active.
for a full year with the spirits and watching their evolution. But being that it was so fresh of what I call a blood print, I think that is why they're so interested in getting into people and telling them from a feeling it and experiential type of method as opposed to just a little sighting or hearing just a little song. They want you they're letting you feel it and
Right.
tell the story.
So that's their way of making sure that their story
Without
is...
having to die.
Right.
You don't have to die to do it, But.
Right. Now, if you don't mind me asking, I believe you give tours as well, correct?
Oh, of course. I've given tours here for full time.
Okay.
For about 24 years.
For a long time.
I am a veteran in this
Yeah.
in this town. My family has been here for 300 years, and I used to joke that I was related to all the ghosts, but as time went on, I found out I was. So I am related to a lot of the historic ones and have always fascination growing up here with the spirit world. And, always went to these haunted houses and places as a kid and a teenager for fun, and then became a historian and knowledgeable and an author about it. I have a great book with a 5-star Amazon review, Hauntings, Horrors, and Dancing with the Dead, about the major stories that a lot of people know about New Orleans. And my next one coming up with Swamp Magic.
Swamp magic. I like that.
Really?
My next one's coming up with Swamp Magic and Monsters, and of course one with this whole Zach and Addie incident.
You say swamp magic and monsters. You're talking about the monsters. You mean the Lugaroo?
The Lugaroo and the Rougarou and the Foufalet and the
Right.
Heru and the there's a whole slew of them.
Oh yeah.
So, okay. We do have to take a break very quickly, but we'll be right back after this on X97 WEVX. We'll hear more from the Dead Zone crew right after this on X97 WEVX. Everything that rocks.
Hey, this is Dwayne from the Dwayne on the Radio Show, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about WEVX's first annual crowdfunding campaign. We'll be accepting donations via www.gofundme.com/X97WEVX. If you've been looking for a way to help us keep rocking, this is a great opportunity to get involved. X97 WEVX is a non-profit community-oriented station, so all donations go directly to our day-to-day operations, equipment maintenance, purchase of new equipment, and community outreach. For more information, you can check out our campaign online at www.gofundme.com/X97WEVX, or you may contact X97 WEVX by phone at 812-233-4067.
That looks perfect. Now I just need that rare collectible action figure and my collection is complete.
Epic, but it's missing something. Have you checked out Sewer Layer Toys? They buy, sell, and trade all kinds of vintage, new, and custom toys, which is what you need, right?
Give me their address and phone number.
Sewer Layer Toys, 3197 South 3rd Place in Terre Haute. You can call 812-917-4449. Hey, where you going?
To Sewer Lair Toys, I want that rare collectible action figure.
X97 WEVX. Everything that rocks.
You're listening to Dead Zone on X97 WEVX. You can hit us up on social media via Facebook.com/DeadZoneX97 or via the web at www.deadzoneradio.com. Well, thank you very much, Bloody Mary, for coming on our show. Now, before we let you go, would you like to let the nice people know your online social media handles and where they can find you on social media?
Absolutely. For simplicity, BloodyMaryNewOrleans.com. But I'm also at Bloody Mary NOLA. NOLA stands for New Orleans, Louisiana.
NOLA.
So at Bloody Mary NOLA.
Who dat?
That's on Twitter and Facebook. I'm at New Orleans Haunted Museum, and I'm Bloody Mary New Orleans on YouTube. I'm all over.
She's everywhere. She's awesome.
Yeah.
And now she's on Dead Zone.
And I'm at 828 North Rampart in New Orleans at the Haunted Museum and Mystic Institute.
Awesome. Amazing. And I hope to make it down there sooner rather than later because I have yet to make my pilgrimage to New Orleans.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
We need to go to a party with the dolls.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, thank you very much. And it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And we're about to wrap things up here on Dead Zone. And Lee, can you tell us the Christmas edition? Do you mind telling us? Oh, I'm jumping the gun. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
Now, do you mind?
Creepy Christmas. Happy New Year.
Creepy Christmas. There you go.
Yes.
That's it.
Perfect. Lee, would you mind sharing a little bit about what we have coming up in the next few editions?
The next couple of editions. For 2018, we have quite a few interesting guys coming up. We've got Porter from Tennessee Wraith Chasers.
Cool.
You guys knew that. I know you guys know who that is, right? We also have a couple of guys. I don't know exactly who it's going to be, but from Mountain Monsters from Destination America.
Very cool. And so that is just some of what you can look forward to on Dead Zone.
I'm sorry. I forgot again. We've got Rick McCullough from Hollywood Ghost Hunters. You can't miss that.
How can we forget that?
You can't.
Seriously.
You guys have to tune in for that.
So, yeah, that's what you have to look forward to beginning in 2018 and a lot more also on the way. And this has been a phenomenal, phenomenal evening. So we have to say goodbye and we have to wrap things up. And a Merry Christmas to you and yours, as we've said like 6 times already. So this is the Dead Zone crew, and we'll see you in 2018. That wraps up this week's edition of Dead Zone. You can catch new episodes every Saturday at 6 p.m. and replays every Sunday at 5 p.m. You can also check out past episodes at deadzoneradio.com.